Hello guys, I am back from another video and today we're talking about what if Deku was in RWBY, and I'm really sorry for my voice right now. I'm currently suffering the worst case of freaking sneezes because Jesus, my nose, it feels like it's blocked. God, but either way, let's continue on. So, in the last video, we talked about how, as we currently see Izuku and the rest of Team, Juniper, because, like I said in the last video, Team Juniper, instead of being broken up because of, Pyra being, freaking dead, instead, somebody has to be sacrificed. In this case, Izuku's used to be girlfriend, aka Skyla. As now, Skyla became the sacrifice for, for basically, for basically keeping, Pyra in the team. And so, while they're basically, going through the forest, they were currently fighting off a gigantic ass, Grim, more specifically a Spectre Grim, which allows the Grim to basically go into objects and basically possess them. Even taking in some other objects to basically act as, a body. While they're basically doing so, we go to another perspective, in this case, Salem's Castle and the Dark Realm, or whatever you want to call it. Wait for a second. But either way, continue on, as we go to the different perspective, in this case, Salem and her castle, as she was talking to her subordinates, one of them being named, what was his name? One of them being a guy by the name of, Arthur Watts, which seems to be a guy that almost seems to have, a Victorian-era style clothing. Another man by the name of Tyrion, which, well, I think he just looks like, Jack the Ripper, if Jack the Ripper was that much more insane. And finally, a guy by the name of Hazel, a pretty buff guy with, well, let's just say an interesting, I was about to say quirk, I meant semblance, but either way, as we finally go to, well, Cinder. And Cinder seems to be quite different. Not only does she have, several scars, but in this timeline, she doesn't get the rest of the maiden powers, because Pyra successfully has all of the, the rest of, the maiden powers, so, yeah, unfortunately for her, she's not gonna get that upgrade. And we also see, both Emerald and Mercy basically doing their own thing, as they would start discussing, more specifically, well, her, aka Salem, would start discussing the recent plans. And after a bit of talking, they would start leaving, as would be left with Cinder and also, well, her, aka, Salem. As we go back to the rest of Izuku and also Team, Juniper's, well, little mission. As they were doing some other stuff while Jean herself, she was doing her own thing, just deciding to go somewhere else. More specifically, as Jean is doing her own thing, basically getting an upgrade for her sword and shield. As Izuku and the rest of, Team Juniper are basically, talking about their life story, including Izuku back in, wait for a second, continuing on, ladies and gents, but either way, as we see Izuku and, a not-so-happy ass, Nora, as he would start talking about their whole little childhood back in Mistral, which, by the way, was pretty funny to them. But either way, after that, we basically, sort of, ended off the episode. Not really ended off the episode, I meant, basically, after, getting another mission from, from one of their, I meant scrolls, as after getting that signal, they would be told to go to a little, village nearby, which apparently been attacked recently by a band of, bandits, and also some Grimm. And so, after doing so, they would start walking towards that, that specific, village, as after meeting up with only just one survivor, aka a random huntsman, as he would die because of his own, because of all of his wounds. But thankfully, because Izuku basically having protagonist powers and also the powers of the, Rena Sharingan, he was able to use the, the Deva Path. Actually, what is the name of that one? I meant the Naraka Path to basically summon out the King of Hell. And with that being said, he was able to revive him, and he was able to basically go back home to his family. Which, at least he gets a happy ending. But for Izuku and the rest of the team, they would start looking around and would see a large hoof track, signifying that it's probably some sort of Grim. And a Grim that both Ren, and also, her, aka, Nora, would probably know pretty well. But Izuku doesn't really know, thanks to the help of like him being knocked out, and not only that, being so rageful that he was able to use, his, his Deva path at a pretty young age, to might I add. And not only that, he was also able to use, not really use, but more like, he was able to basically survive long enough for the monks to basically bring him in and would basically, save him from that little traumatic experience. But either way, after that, we basically, saw Izuku with the rest of the team basically getting ready to leave. But we also go to another perspective from earlier, where we see a young girl with, with brownish hair and I think, and so much greenish eyes, as she would start attending to her farm. As while she was doing so, we would basically sort of like ended off the episode right off there. And what I mean by sort of, well, we also go to another perspective where we see, both Cinder and also, Salem basically talking to each other, as they would get notified by a seer grim that apparently Osmond is still alive. That is where we, actually ended off the episode. So let us talk about what happens next, ladies and gents. So, we go back to another perspective, in this case, the girl from earlier. The girl is currently done with, her little farm work, as she would say this. That was pretty hard, she would say, as after saying that, she would start going to a little sink area, or I could say a little, restroom area, I guess you could say, as she would start, fixing up her hair and also some of her clothes, as she would start splashing a bit of water into her face. As she would start looking at herself in the mirror, as she would say this. Looks pretty nice, to say the least, she would say. As she would start, fixing up her hair, as she would hear this. Hello there, my name is Professor Ospen. A few seconds of silence. And then, she would say, as she would fall on, some of the, haystack, on, basically, near her. As she would fall down, as she would say, ow, ow, god dang it, needle, she would say. And we go back to Izuku. Yeah, let's just say that was a pretty much a pretty funny, thing that happened. But either way, as we currently see Izuku and the rest of, team, Juniper, as they're currently walking through the forest. As Izuku would say this. Well, it's certainly been a bit easy lately, he would say. As Izuku, after saying that, one of them would say this. Yeah, we didn't really, encounter any Grim recently, he would say, specifically Lei Ren. As one of them would say that, specifically Jean. Well, I'm pretty thankful for that. At least we don't need to fight this time, she would say, as he would say this. Yeah, at least for you guys. I've been wanting to at least fight a little bit more, he would say, as one of them would say this, specifically, Pyra. You need to rest for now, Izuku. After all, you're basically a warmonger now, she would say, as she would basically, do a little, just, close one of her eyes, because remember, she's sort of, lost her eye. The reason why is because I forgot to add that to when the fall of Beacon happened. Basically, imagine her basically, fighting through some Grim, as one of the Grim would basically slice her eye off, basically causing her to be basically like a pirate. Oh, god damn it. Actually, no, why am I thinking this? I was thinking of, a fusion between, Pyra and also Beidou from Genshin Impact. God, why did I think that? And why did nobody think of that in the first place, but okay, let's continue on with the episode. Anyway, so, as we currently see Izuku and the rest of the group basically going through the forest, as Izuku would say this. As he would just sigh, as one of them would say this. Specifically, Nora. Hey, Izuku, about, do you remember back in our, back in our old home? Back in Mistral, she would say, as he would say this. Yeah, he would say, as everybody else, specifically Jean and also, Pyro, would just listen in. As she would say this. Well, before you, or at least I think, did you remember, anything about a monster, or more specifically a Grim that attacked there? As he would say this. not particularly. The only thing I remember is basically some normal ass Grim. Like, for example, some Beowulfs, some, Bortus. I meant Borbatus. Wait for a second. Some normal Borbatus, and other types of things of that sort, he would say. Or at least I think so, he would say. As after saying that, one of them would say this, specifically, Ray, or, Layren. As he would say this, I see. So, you didn't counter that, Grim, he would say. As he would say this. That, Grim, he would say. As he would say this. Just never mind about that. Let's just continue on. As after saying that, he would start moving through the forest once again. As Izuku would start saying this to himself. I feel like we're being followed, he would say. As after saying that, we go to a different perspective. As we currently see Crow. As Crow is currently, following them. As he's currently fighting off some Grim that he recently fought off. As these Grims are currently now just turned into nothing but, into dust or goo. Actually, yeah, it's dust. As he would say this. Seriously, these kids are pretty strong, but do I really need to protect them? I mean, I can certainly see Izuku just handling by itself, but still, he's still a rookie, he would say. I mean, what if he made a mistake? Whatever. As after saying that, he would start moving through the forest once again. So, wait for a second. And so, we currently see Izuku and the rest of the team going to another village. As Izuku, while basically moving through the village, or at least going through the forest, he would say this. I mean, it would be easier if I decide to just use my, one of my summons, he would say. As one of them would say this. And attracting several Grim, no thank you, said, a not so interested, Jean. As he would say this. Come on, it would be easier. As one of them would say this. Can both of you please be quiet, said, Layren, as he would say this. Oh, sorry about that, he would say. As he would say this. Don't worry about it. Anyway, let's just continue on. As while they're moving, we go to a different perspective. So, we go to the perspective of, of Crow. As we currently see Crow doing his own thing. As he's currently in a tavern, or, I guess you could say bar. Wait for a second, what is it called? As we currently see, Crow basically in a bar in a town known as Hajibana? Yeah, I think that's the name. As, while he was basically sitting down, he would notice a girl. A girl with a mask beside her. That mask seems quite familiar, in fact. And this woman would be revealed to be Raven. Raven Broadwin, otherwise known as his Crow's sister. But people also call her by another name. Yang's mother. As Crow would say this. It's been a while, sister, he would say. As she would say this. So, it's been a while, brother. Now, may I ask you this question, she would say. As he would say this. Fine, he would say. As she would say this. So, did Salem get, did Salem already gotten the, the relic of, Osmond, he would say, which she would say, as he would say this. I don't think so. Or at least I think. But still, it's still pretty disappointing in you, he would say. As she would say this. Why? She would say. As he would say this. Well, why did you bring that damn bandit, that damn, bandit camp, or at least that, bandit group to basically try and destroy that village exactly? You basically killed everybody there. And not only that, you basically attracted someone grim to it, he would say. As she would say this. I'm only doing it for my people. And also, I'm pretty disappointed in you too, for basically abandoning our family, she would say. As he would say this. Oh, don't give me that bullshit. Besides, you basically left your own daughter. And not only that, she's currently suffering. And she's currently suffering because of the loss of her arm. And you basically dare say that I'm basically, being a bastard to your own family, to my own family, just because I'm basically helping out another family member, he would say. As she would say this. I have no time for this, she would say. As after saying so, she would start moving towards a portal that she made. As she would say this. Hope to see you again, brother, she would say. As after saying so, she would leave. As he would say this. Sister, he would say. As after saying that, he would basically go down onto onto one of the tables as he would start drinking to his, heart's content. As while he was drinking, he would say this. Hope behind you are okay, he would say. As after saying this, he would start feeling something bad is gonna happen. As we go back to Yang. As we currently see Yang basically by herself. As she would say this. It still hurts, she would say. As after saying that, she would start looking around. As she would say this. I need water, she would say. As after saying that, she would try to grab it with one of her hands, but unfortunately, she tried using her, her separated hand, or the one that basically got cut off. As she would say this. Oh yeah, lost arm, she would say. As she would start laughing to herself. As she would say this. Whatever, she would say. As she would grab it with her other hand, which was pretty difficult to say the least, as she would start chugging the water. As she would say this. You really need to get a new arm. Where's my Izuku, she would say. As she would start thinking about that, what she said. My Izuku. As she would realize, why is she saying this? Not only that, why did she say that? I mean, she does know that that his, girlfriend basically died, but it doesn't mean that she had to, basically say that. I mean, she would start, looking at herself as she would say this. What have I become, she would say. As she would start looking at herself, as she would say this. Where's RWBY, she would say. As she would start, looking at a mirror, as she would notice that her arm is still pretty much stumped. And not only that, she would also have her eyes a bit different. She would have, instead of her usual, I guess you could say pinkish, violetish eyes, instead they were almost dead at that point. It was just like a solid color, as she would say this. Whatever, she would say. As we go back to Crow, as Crow would start leaving the little, tavern. As while he was leaving, we noticed a person would basically walk in. As he would say this. Where are the... As he would start looking at, one of the waitresses. As he would say this. There we go, he would say. As after saying that, he would start walking up to her. As we currently see him basically walking towards one of the waitresses. As he would say this. Hey, you, he would say. As one of them would say this. What is it, mister? As she would notice that he's currently having his weapons out. As he would basically grab her by the neck, as the weapons would start, clenching onto her neck. As the blades would almost be right at her neck, basically getting ready to, chop it off. Or more specifically, her head. As he would say this. So, have you seen a guy with green hair? Another girl with, actually, most of the girls were basically having, similar hairstyles, to say the least. But one of them had red hair, the other one had orange hair, blah blah blah, and a dark-haired one with, a pink streak. And if you don't tell me, then guess I'll be chopping off their head, he would say. As she would say this. I don't know what you're talking about, she would say. As he would say this. Not really the talker, eh, he would say. As he would say this. Well then, mind telling me if you heard of a guy by the name of Crow Broadwind, he would say. As she would say this. He gone somewhere else, she would say. As he would say this. Well, this is going to be interesting, he would say. As she would say this. Apparently, he's gone he's going to a village, an abandoned one, nearby, he would say. She would say. As after saying that, she would say this. Thank you for your contributions. As after saying that, she would basically be kicked right in the stomach as she would fall to the ground. As he would say this. I should be going, he would say. As after saying that, he would start laughing to himself. Almost acting like a freaking, lunatic. Wait for a second. As we go to Izuku and the rest of the others, as Izuku would say this. So this must be the village, he would say. As one of them would say this. Yeah. Apparently its name is Onowara. Actually, let me just check again. No, it's Onigiri. As one of them would say this. I see. Then why are we here exactly? As one of them would say this. Well, apparently, I think I found a way to find out where this grim is, he would say. As Izuku would say this. Wait, why are we fighting this single? Why are we trying to find this single grim, he would say. As he would say this, specifically Lei Ren. Well, I think we found the culprit of who or what, whatever this grim is. It's definitely the reason why that village back then, or at least back when we went there with, what is that called? Remember that village from like last episode? Yeah, that's basically that village. As he would say this. I see. So you believe that one single grim was able to do this type of damage, he would say? As he would say this. Yeah, I'm sure. But before they can say anything else, they would hear laughter. As they would hear, found you, he would say. As after saying that, a person would basically jump out of the sky, as this person would be revealed to be Tyrion. As he would say this. Well then, it seems that we finally meet, he would say. As he would say this. So, you must be the boy that Mistress wants to meet. And you must be the people that I'm going to be ripping apart, he would say. As he would start using his weapons, which resemble claws. As he would say this. Oh, I've been wanting to slice you apart for a while, he would say. As after saying that, he would start charging towards Izuku. As Izuku would say this. How insignificant, he would say. As he would say this. Debapath, he would say. As he would say this. As he would say, Bancho Tenin, he would say. As he would basically grab his, he would start, pulling his arm back as he would start getting launched towards him, specifically Tyrion. As he would say this, you've made my job easier, he would say. As he would get ready to stab him with his claw-like weapons, as he would say this. Now, as he would start creating a sword out of his, I guess you could say more like a cleaver than anything else. As he would say this. Now, be cleaved in half, he would say. As after saying so, he would get ready to slice him, but before he can, he would basically, dodge out of the way, as he would say this. How interesting, he would say, as he would start dancing around a little bit, as he would say this. Oh, I never seen a fighter like you before, he would say. As after saying that, he would start looking at the others, as he would say this. I meant to say this. Look what we have here. A little boy with a little pink streak. A girl with, whatever, he would say. Ooh, the champion of Mistral. I mean, the champion of the Vista Festival 4 times in a row, he would say. And a pathetic little knight, he would say. As he would say this. Oh, I've been waiting to fight, he would say. As he would say this. Now, let's truly fight, he would say. As after saying so, he would he would start charging towards one of them, specifically Jean, as Jean would try to block him with his sword, as he would basically jump out of the way and would get ready to slice her in half. As before he can, a wave of fire would basically jump out of nowhere, as he would say this. Huh? He would say, as he would see her, aka, what is her name? Yeah, Pyra, as she would say this. I'm not letting you hurt her, he would say. She would say. As he would say this. Oh, you pretty little girl. It seems that you're able to use the main powers. Oh, how delightful, he would say. As something would start coming out of his back. As it would seem to resemble a scorpion's tail. As one of them would say this. Wait, he's a faunus? Said, a pretty much annoyed, well, what is his name? Yeah, Lei Ren. As, one of them would say this, specifically Nora. I got it, she would say, as she would start using her semblance, aka electricity, to basically try to bash him away. But before she can, he would jump out of the way and would start charging towards her, as she would, get sliced in the belly. As she would start, screaming out of pain just because of the slice. as you would say this. Oh ho ho, pretty little girl. But unfortunately, I'm not that of a loser, he would say. As he would start looking at the others, as he would say this. Oh, who's next, he would say. As he would start crawling on all fours, as he jump towards, well, Pyra. As Pyra would start shooting off blasts of fire with her spear. As he would say this. Oh no, you don't, he would say. As he would get ready to, gets ready to basically slice her in half with his sword, claw things. But before he can, she would basically block the attack and push him away. As for, wait for a second. And as for Izuku, Izuku would also use his abilities to summon out a few, axes. And these axes would be thrown towards him, as one of the axes would embed itself into his back. As he would, spit out a bit of blood, as he would say, ah! You little shit, he would say. As after saying that, he would fall to the ground. As the axe would basically, dissipate. As he would see this. You little shit, he would say. As he would start looking at the nearest person, around. As he would see Jean, as he would say this. Perfect, he would say. As he would start charging towards Jean, as Jean would try to defend herself. But before she can, she would be knocked to the ground by his, by his tail. As he would start wrapping his tail around her. As the tail would basically start, getting ready to stab her. As he would say this. Nobody move! Or, would you want your little lady friend to die, he would say. As one of them would say this. Don't you dare, said Izuku. As he would say this. Oh, I do dare, he would say. As, after saying so, a person would finally arrive. As this person would jump out of the roof, as this person would jump towards him, as he would get ready to slice him in the back. As before he can, he would jump out of the way, as Jean would be let go. As he would say this. What the? He would say, as this man would be revealed to be Crow. As Crow would say this. Trying to hurt a poor defenseless girl. How low of you, he would say. As he would say this. Ooh, a crow, he would say. As after saying that, he would start getting ready his claws, as he would say this. Oh, I've been wanting to fight one of you for a while, he would say. A Broadwind, he would say. As he would start, getting ready his, scorpion tail, as he would say this. Now, let's truly have a fight, he would say. As after saying that, we go, wait for a second. As, we currently see, Crow, as he would say this. Hey, kids, he would say. As, all of, Team, Juniper would basically look at him, including Izuku, as he would say this. I want all of you to basically stand back. I'll be fighting him. But, as he would start looking at Izuku, as he would say this. But I do need some help. So, Izuku, if I ever get hurt, help me out, okay? He would say. As he would say this. Right, he would say. As after saying that, both, Crow and also Tyrion would start standing off, as he would say this. I've been wanting to fight a Broadwood for so long, he would say, as he would start charging towards them, as he would say this. I've been wanting to fight you for a while, you insane bastard, he would say. As after saying that, he would transform his, sword into a scythe, as he would start fighting him at full, strength. And it would be revealed that his semblance would be bad luck, as during the fight, he would get stabbed right in the stomach. Not really in the stomach, but more like, got grazed in the stomach. And if you're wondering who it was, well, it was Tyrion, as Tyrion would say this. Ah! You little... As before he can say anything else, a piece of debris would basically come above him, as he would be, as one of his arms would be broken, as he would say this. Shit, he would say, as some of his aura would start depleting, as he would say this. That was easy, he would say. As he would say this. Why you, he would say, as he would charge towards him, as his aura would also break, as both of them would start standing off, as both of them would start looking at each other. As Izuku would say this. So it seems that I will be helping out this time, he would say. As, Crow would say this. Yeah, it seems so, kid. Now, let's give him hell, he would say. As after saying that, Izuku would say this. Agreed. As he would say this. Now. As he would say this. Now. Now. Let's do this. Oh, killing Ashbone, he would say. As after saying that, bones would start coming out of his, wrists, as everybody would just be in shock, including Tyrion, as he would say this. Oh, that's interesting, he would say, as after saying that, his tail would start getting ready to, for a fight, as, all three of them would start fighting, as Ezekiel would start, trying to stab him with his all-killing ash bones. As during the fight, he would start, slicing the ground, as the ground would start disintegrating and turning into ash. As after seeing this, Tyrion would say this. How interesting, he would say. As after saying that, Ezekiel would say this. Thank you, but... As he would say this. But I won't let you live, he would say. As he would start firing off his bones, almost similar to, how Kinemaro was able to do it back in the anime. Or at least I think so. I can't really remember. As after doing so, Tyrion would start dodging out of the way as he's currently being, intercepted by, Crow. As both Crow and Izuku's teamwork would be, really flawless. In fact, they all seem to be working, in tandem with each other. As Izuku would say this, "Hey Crow, watch out," he would say. As Crow would say this, "Right," he would say. As he would basically dodge it away, as Crow would almost get, sliced in half, or at least sliced in the stomach by, his stinger. As he would say this, "What?" he would say, as Izuku would throw something towards him, and the something was an all-killing ash bone, something, or whatever. As after doing so, the all-killing ash bone projectile would basically, slice through his tail. As after doing so, he would scream out and say, "Shit! Shit, my tail!" he would say. As after saying that, he would start, crawling out of the way, as he would say this. "You'll run this time, but next time, I'll kill you," he would say. As after saying that, he would say, "My tail! My beautiful fucking tail!" he would say. As after saying that, he would start running away. As Izuku would say this. "Yeah, you better run," he would say. As after saying that, Izuku would start looking at, Crow. As Crow would say this. "It seems that we won," he would say. As Izuku would say this. "So, mind telling me why you're here again?" he would say. As Crow would basically stop. As everybody else would also notice this as well. As all of them would start looking at Crow. As Crow would say this. "Let's just say it's a long story," he would say. As after saying that, we go to another perspective. As we currently see, Oscar back in her room. And I'm currently trying to find a female version of the name Oscar, and if you guys can, basically go in the comments, can you make, a female name for the word, or at least for the name Oscar? Because I've been trying to research it, but I couldn't find anything about it. But either way, as Oscar would say this, I'm going crazy, right? She would say, there's no way that I literally have a voice in my head. As the man would say this, or at least the voice. "No, you're definitely not crazy, and I'm not just a voice. Just call me Professor Osmond," he would say. As he would say this, she. As she would just be super confused. As he would say this, "Calm down. I'm here to help you. And before you ask, no, you're not going crazy. And by the way, I'm here to ask you this. I want you to become a huntsman, or at least a huntress," he would say. As she would say this. "Wait, a huntress? Why?" she would say. As he would say this. "Well, I want you to help this world. And not only that, help a certain man basically save it." As she would say this. She would just be confused a little bit. As he would say this. "Don't worry. I'll help you out with your training. And not only that, I can certainly help you with some other things. But first, you need to go to Haven. You'll be training there from now on," he would say. As she would say this. Alright," she would say. As he would say this. "Good. Now, be prepared. After all, let's just say a certain someone is trying to track you down." As after saying so, we're gonna be ending this episode right off here. Yeah, a bit short for my usual episodes, but still. I'm basically busy with, with my exams tomorrow. So yeah, I'm gonna be ending this episode right off here. So I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!